The Price of Freedom by Saadat Hasan Manto. In this video, I am going to present the author citation, the plot summary of The Price of Freedom, critical analysis and the themes. Saadat Hasan Manto was a Pakistani writer, playwright, novelist, essayist and screenwriter. He was born in Ludhiana on 11 May in 1912 in the place of Samrala. He was also written 22 collections of short stories, 1 novel, 5 series of radio plays, 3 collections of essays and 2 collections of personal essays. Manto was known to write about the bitter truths of society that no one dared to talk about. He is best known for his stories about the partition of India. He was the leading Urdu short story writer of the 20th century. The government of Pakistan posthumously awarded him the Nizam-i-Imtiaz, a prestigious civil award in 2012. Manto is therefore a transnational entity. He is known as a Punjabi writer, even though he has not written much in Punjabi. He wrote in Urdu, so he is an Urdu writer. It doesn't seem like he took religion very seriously. He is still known as a Muslim writer. Manto could be called a Marxist writer too. Some of Manto's greatest work was produced in the last 7 years of his life, a time of great financial and emotional hardship for him. He died a few months short of his 43rd birthday in January 55 in the place of Lahore. Plot summary. The Price of Freedom is a story about two ardent young Congress followers, Shahzada Ghulam Ali and Nigar, who fall in love. The story is set in Amritsar quite a few years after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Ghulam Ali makes a name as a fiery young Congress worker. Every few days, a dictator is appointed to the Congress camp and Ghulam Ali is 14th dictator to take over, since his predecessors have all been sent to prison. In this position, one does not last for more than a few days before being sent to jail. The scene is set in the backdrop of post-Jallianwala Bagh massacre in Amritsar, and the story is about two Muslim workers. The story takes a turn after the coming of Babaji. He heads ashram and carries a halo about him. All political movements in Amritsar takes place only with his blessings. The artifice creeps invenities the Baba who joins Ghulam Ali and Nigar in wedlock. How a Hindu Baba heading an ashram joins two Muslims in marriage is never explained, perhaps because it is not explicable. The Baba asks Nigar to join the ashram and makes a long speech at the wedding, where he states that the sexual link was not as important as it was made out to be in a marriage. A true marriage should be free from lust. He asked Nigar if she would like to be a mother or child who would be a slave at the moment of his birth. She could not. After marriage, Ghulam Ali is bundled off to jail for 8 months. After he returns, they obviously live together but in sexual abstinence. Their turn to conventional life is humdrum and boring compared to the excitement of their days with the Congress. Many years later, the narrator meets Ghulam Ali and finds that he is now doing well and owns some shoe stores. However, he does not stock rubber footwear. Ghulam Ali hates rubber, the reason being the use of condoms, which he and Nigar resorted to in order to keep their vow to the Baba that he would not father a child in an enslaved India. Later, he gives up condoms and has children, but the bitter antipathy against rubbers and lingers. The story ends with his child coming into the shop with a balloon and Ghulam Ali in a tantrum, pouncing on the balloon and blasting it out of the shop. The story reflects and also displays Manto's cockiness, which seems to declare that he can carry off almost anything. A Hindu Baba was perhaps needed because he had to talk about freedom and perhaps hindered sexual abstinence. The ending of story is super, which depicts freedom from the useless religious restrictions. Critical analysis. In The Price of Freedom, Manto explores the manner in which phallocentric operations, wild control and violence over the female body. The author demonstrates the manner in which patriotic, rhetoric, and nationalistic ideals and ideology are actually an exercise by patriarchy mean to generate a group of people in order to manipulate them to submit to their victimization. In this short story, Manto describes the plight of his childhood friend Ghulam Ali, who is forcibly held prisoner to a hollow and unfulfilling life while participating in the nation's fight for freedom. He is an active participant in the civil disobedience movement, during which he falls in love with a fellow revolutionary, a girl called Nigar. Ghulam Ali is chosen as a dictator by the revolutionaries for his prime purpose of addressing a rally at Jallianwala Bagh Massacre and then getting himself arrested and thrown into jail as a sign of bravery and rebellion against the British rule. Ghulam Ali wants to marry his beloved before going to prison, and for these conjugal unions he seeks the blessings of a religious sage known to the public as Babaji. The character of Babaji seems to be modeled upon Mahatma Gandhi, a visionary who professes practicing abstinence from the material things in life. The writer, however, reveals that Babaji's proclamation of disinterest in worldly things in fact are views. Manto narrates that Babaji is renowned for his piety and scholarship and has a legion of followers belonging to different religions. On his occasional visits to Amritsar, he resides at the palatial house of a local jeweler. Also, despite his proclivity towards religious activities, Babaji nurtures and avoids interest in politics and continually but subtly drops in and discusses political strategies with the people who come to pay homage to him. Even though he lives in an ashram, Babaji is a man accustomed to living a comfortable life where people cater to his every whim and fancy and follow his orders. The character of Babaji represents the violence and power that characterize the monarchic function of patriarchy. Babaji's ashram appears as a form of Foucault's idea of the prison, which in turn is his metaphor for modern disciplinary society founded on the concept of power, knowledge, and body. Babaji projects himself as a revolutionary who is not enamored of politics. Instead, he wishes for the spiritual enlightenment that will bring freedom to the citizens of the nation. However, Babaji frequently deviates from his proclamations by dropping hints about the tactics to be followed to the political leaders who were among the group of his followers. Moreover, he touches his political ideology in his influential rhetoric about youth and revolution. Babaji is in fact a poor, hungry individual who maintains his dominant position in society by devising a new means and tactics of control over a legion of followers. Ghulam Ali too is one of the willing victims of Babaji. He does with his girlfriend Nigar to ask for Babaji's blessings before their nuptials. Babaji expresses extreme displeasure at Ghulam Ali's decision to marry. He advises Ghulam Ali to send his fiancée to live in his ashram and then go and get himself arrested in order to show his patriotism. Later, Babaji changes his mind about their wedding and agrees to give them his blessings the next day at the Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. The narrator writes that Babaji, with the makings of an astute politician, declares in front of riveted audience about his gladness over Ghulam Ali and Nigar uniting in wedlock. He states that procreating rather than dedicating one's life to the cause of the country's freedom is evil, indulgent and abnormal behavior. Babaji, with his cleverly devised rant, quickly indulges Ghulam Ali to promise to the entire congregation that he will not have children with his future wife and they shall spend their married life as friends. When Ghulam Ali comes out of his revolutionary stupor, he realizes that he has made a mistake by allowing his life to be controlled by another individual, and ultimately he breaks his vow to Babaji and resumes having a fulfilled life. For Babaji, the body of the woman stands as a symbol of indulgence and evil. He considers female body to be a deliberate distraction and an obstacle that diverts the freedom fighter from his normal calling and conduct. Hence, he advises Nigar to join the ashram in order to move Ghulam Ali away from the path of temptation. However, Ghulam Ali is not able to adapt to a life devoid of abstinence, so he skirts his promise made to Babaji by deciding that he will have sexual relations with his wife, but he will not get any children from her. However, he soon begins yearning for children, something to call upon as his legacy. Also, he is agonist on behalf of his wife, for he knows that she craves motherhood. Ghulam Ali thus decides to ditch his promise to Babaji and produces a couple of children with Nigar. When Manto meets Ghulam Ali years later, he notices his friend's hatred towards anything made of rubber, be it rubber soles or a deflated balloon. For Ghulam Ali, rubber alludes to condoms, a reminder of stunted and barren marital life. Ghulam Ali seeks transcendence from this desolate existence through natural contact with a woman's body. In this story, Nigar's body is reduced to a mere womb, an object, a means for Ghulam Ali to achieve the goal he considers to be his life's true purpose. Hence, Ghulam Ali is the primordial phallic subject who represses the subjectivity of the associated other by violating her body. This violation by Ghulam Ali has in fact no visible brute force attached to it. Manto's short story The Price of Freedom is remarkable for its portrayal of the times of Indian freedom struggle and is based on events that happened in Amritsar. He very craftily has portrayed the difficulties which people were facing because of partition. In this story, he explores the controversial themes of love, sex, incest, prostitution, rape, murder, and patriarchy. Thank you.